Imagine being a little sister and having to stand there and watch your protector or your father shoot himself due to your mother's orders. Imagine having your mother try to brainwash you into becoming Rapture's first utopian, and then listen to her propaganda. Then imagine bringing your father back 10 years later and assisting him in helping reunite Eleanor and Subject Delta. This is the reality of Eleanor Lamb, daughter of Sofia. So, with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the story of Eleanor Lamb. Hey guys, very quickly before we actually hop into the video, I just wanted to let you know that the Mark Meltzer video is coming. Be patient. This is going to take a long time to make just for the fact that this story in and of itself can be its own game. So I want to make it as perfect as possible. Anyways, with that being said, let's hop into the story of Eleanor Lamb. Eleanor Lamb is the daughter of Sofia Lamb and a previous little sister in Rapture. Roughly 10 years after the 1958 New Year's Eve riots, she contacts Subject Delta, beginning the events of Bioshock 2. Eleanor still remembers Delta after 10 years and knows he is searching for her. Throughout the course of the game, she will mentally communicate with him through their pair bond connection and leave some gifts and messages written on the walls of the city. In the story of Bioshock 2, her behavior and personality is highly influenced by Delta's actions towards the little sisters and NPCs, and we'll go over the endings at the end of the video. Eleanor was raised by her mother, Sofia Lamb, in isolation from the other children of Rapture. Sofia lectured her daughter on philosophy and psychology, hoping to raise her to uphold her altruistic ideals. As a young girl, Eleanor was highly intelligent and taught herself how to take apart and reconstruct electronics. However, she disobeyed her mother on numerous occasions, sneaking out to see other kids and disabling the security systems her mother installed. At first, Eleanor was standoffish towards the other children, whimsically referring to them as dog eaters, since her mother told her they were raised on a dog-eat-dog diet. During one of Eleanor's frequent escapes, she meets a boy named Amir and got into a fight with him, making his nose bleed in the process, but eventually became his friend. In a later audio diary, Eleanor mentions that she had a childhood crush on him. When Eleanor was about 7 years old, her mother, Sofia Lamb, was arrested by Andrew Ryan and taken away to Persephone. Eleanor was entrusted into the care of one of her mother's patients and close follower, Grace Holloway, who had long wanted a child, and Eleanor lived with her for a time in her apartment at the Sinclair Deluxe in Pauper's Drop. This arrangement proved short-lived, because Eleanor quickly discovered that Stanley Poole was Ryan's spy who had gathered information on her mother's political activities, and he was now bankrupting Dionysus Park through overspending and throwing mad parties. Eleanor eventually confronted Stanley and threatened to tell her mother what he was doing with her home, fortune, and followers. In fear of reprisal, Poole had Eleanor kidnapped and sold to the Little Sisters orphanage. Eleanor spent time in the orphanage in Siren Alley before she was transferred to the care of Dr. Gilbert Alexander. Dr. Alexander, who was ignorant of her true identity, turned her into a little sister and partnered her with Subject Delta. However, Eleanor's time as a little sister did not last very long because Sofia Lamb escaped from prison and tracked her daughter down on New Year's Eve, 1958. With the help of a gang of splicers, Sofia managed to abduct Eleanor and used a mind control plasmid on Subject Delta to command him to shoot himself. Sofia then retreated back to Persephone, taking Eleanor with her. Since then, Eleanor constantly thought of Delta, and she still dreamt about him. Sofia worked with Dr. Alexander over several years to rehabilitate Eleanor. Eventually, they were able to undo her little sister conditioning, but they could not remove the sea slug that had been implanted within her. Sofia then began her plans to create a perfect altruist by using Adam to experiment on Gilbert Alexander, who volunteered to become the first utopian. During this time, Eleanor was confined to Persephone and the Fontaine Futuristics building, but she was horrified at seeing the changes Dr. Alexander went through as the experiment began to fail. She became more rebellious, seeing the hypocrisy in her mother's altruistic ideals. For example, Dr. Lamb forcing her will on others, just as Andrew Ryan did before her. Only while she wanted to force her ideals to eliminate the self, he wanted to take control to eliminate the parasites, both becoming what they despised, and Eleanor wanted to escape. However, Sofia Lamb changed the focus of her experiments to Eleanor when she realized that Gil Alexander would not succeed. Lamb realized that Eleanor's condition as a little sister protected her from the genetic damage that would be caused by using Adam. Thus, Dr. Lamb began injecting Eleanor with massive doses of Adam and glorifying her as a holy vessel for her loyal followers in the Rapture family. As a result of her mother's experiments and plans for her, Eleanor started to think of an escape. Eleanor had formed a bond with the new little sisters kidnapped from the surface, and she could control their actions outside of Persephone. Using them, she was able to carry out her plans around the city, even though her mother had trapped her in confinement. Part of Eleanor's rebellion against her mother was remembering her time with her bonded Big Daddy, Subject Delta. Thus, Eleanor sent out little sisters to find samples of Delta's genetic sequence, planning to revive him at a Vita chamber. With the help of Bridget Tenenbaum, she succeeded in removing Delta's Big Daddy conditioning and brought him back to life.
Find the code to the watchtower or work out a way to draw him out. Sinclair is moving, Father. Track him.
In her bid for freedom and escape to the surface, Eleanor instigated the events of Bioshock 2 by using the new little sisters to resurrect Subject Delta, more than 10 years after his original death. Due to the powerful and potentially lethal bond they share, Delta is forced to journey through Rapture and seek his former little sister. Eleanor aids him whenever she can by leaving him gifts and messages from the little sisters, and she tries to hide her contact with him from her mother. Eleanor observes the way Delta interacts with the little sisters, choosing to save them or kill them, and the way he gives mercy or vengeance to the people he meets. Delta then begins to learn more about himself and Eleanor as he travels through the city. However, during this time, her mother is not deceived, and she begins to accelerate Eleanor's treatments as Delta draws nearer. Eventually, Delta arrives in Persephone to find Eleanor imprisoned in a quarantine chamber. Eleanor is in a deep sleep as he approaches, but as he tries to enter the chamber, Sofia smothers Eleanor with a pillow, stopping her heart long enough to sever the pair bond and put Delta in a coma. Eleanor recovers and tries to salvage her connection with Delta, sending him a little sister to control and helping him escape from his bondings. Eleanor gets him to bring her a big sister suit for her to wear so they can escape together. Eleanor then joins Delta to fight against the remnants of the Rapture family in Persephone to reach Augustus Sinclair's escape pod to the surface. When she fights, Eleanor uses the big sister powers that she has accumulated from all the atoms she absorbed over the years. The player's choice of whether to harvest or save little sisters affects Eleanor's personality in combat. If Delta saved all the little sisters, then her personality will be one of righteous anger at her mother and the Rapture family. If Delta harvested one or more little sisters, her personality will be one of cruel amusement as she enjoys toying with her enemies in revenge for what she had done to her. The explosion charges rigged by Lamb's followers cause the chamber holding the lifeboat to fill with water. Thinking quickly, Eleanor forms a plan to use the other little sisters to help her boil off the water. Depending on the player's choice to either harvest or save the little sisters throughout the game, Eleanor will either use the little sisters completely, draining them of their energy and killing them in the process, or be gentler to them, eventually bringing them with her into the escape pod and saving them.
I will take all that you hold dear. Sinclair is just another body in your wake.
Depending upon Delta's choices in dealing with the little sisters and the NPCs, that includes Grace Holloway, Stanley Poole, and Gilbert Alexander, good, neutral, and bad endings are possible. As the final bombs in the level detonate, Eleanor races with Subject Delta to reach the elevator to the escape pod. A set of charges goes off directly in their path, forcing Eleanor to teleport to the rising escape craft. Delta is stranded on the outside of the pod while Eleanor makes it safely inside and finds her mother there. Sofia is drowning due to the flooding inside of the escape craft, and Delta's choices of whether or not to save or kill the adults and little sisters he met earlier in the game affect whether Eleanor takes pity on her mother and gives her oxygen to keep her alive, or whether she pulls her down to drown her. The events after they reach the surface depend purely upon the player's choice to save or harvest the little sisters. As Sofia Lamb struggles to reach a pocket of air, Eleanor will swim in and hand her mother a small air tank to breathe from, allowing her to live. If Delta has saved all of the little sisters and have been merciful towards at least one of the NPCs, then Sofia Lamb will be saved from drowning by her daughter. If Delta has harvested at least one little sister but spared all of the NPCs, Eleanor will also let her mother live. Depending on how the little sisters have been treated, Eleanor says different things during the sequence, which you can read on screen now. If Delta has saved all of the little sisters and killed every NPC, then Eleanor will drown her mother. Sofia also drowns if Delta has harvested at least one little sister and killed at least one NPC. Depending on how the little sisters have been treated, Eleanor says different things during the sequence, again, which you can read on the screen now.
We're almost to the pediatric ward. I expect we'll be fighting our way inside.
This one dies alone and afraid. Stand in our way, and you'll get the same.
The good ending. If Delta saved every little sister, then on the surface he will breathe his last breaths in Eleanor's arms. She crosses his arms on his chest, then lovingly and respectfully extracts his atom, allowing him to be a part of her. Eleanor and the rescued little sisters will then gather together under bright, warm weather. One of the little sisters hands Eleanor the doll of Subject Delta she made years ago, which she takes and drops into the sea. Choice endings. If Delta saves at least one little sister and harvests at least one little sister, he gets a choice ending. In this scenario, he can choose to either live or die. The sacrifice ending. On the surface, Eleanor moves to extract Adam from the dying Delta, but he grabs her wrist at the last second, preventing it. Eleanor then drags the dying Delta to the edge of the water, and he spends his last moments staring at his reflection, turning towards her one last time before collapsing, while Eleanor cries and contemplates the loneliness ahead of her, but thanks him for securing her freedom. The weather and the mood is calm, yet dark and gloomy. The survival choice. In the survival ending, Eleanor extracts Delta's essence calmly. She watches as the bodies of dead splicers rise to the surface. The corpse-filled ocean crashes violently as a powerful thunderstorm rages overhead, foreshadowing the bloody future the world might face, as it may now have to confront the might of Rapture's godlike genetic technologies wielded by Eleanor. And finally, the bad ending. If Delta harvested every single little sister, then Eleanor takes Delta's essence against his will. She watches as the bodies of dead splicers rise to the surface. The corpse-filled ocean crashes violently as a powerful thunderstorm rages overhead, foreshadowing the bloody future the world might face, as it may now have to confront the might of Rapture's godlike genetic technologies wielded by the genius and cruelty of Eleanor. So guys, that concludes the story of Eleanor Lamb. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you do, be sure to support it. Let me know down in the comment section below if you want to continue seeing these lore videos, because it seems like you guys really do enjoy these, and personally I love making them. So if you want to see these continue, and I'm gonna set a like goal here. This might sound crazy, but I think you guys can do it. If we can hit 80 likes on this particular video within 2 days, I will make that Mark Meltzer video as soon as I possibly can. Deal? Deal. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy the video, Would you kindly drop a like? If not, you can drop a dislike. Just tell me what I can do to make the video better for you. If you're new here and want to see more content and help the Rapture family grow, would you kindly hit that subscribe button, share the video with some family and friends, and turn on notifications. That way, when YouTube bugs out, you'll get notified as to when I upload a video or go live with a live stream. If you want to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, would you kindly go follow me on Twitter and join my Discord? Both links will be in my description, and I would love to have you guys in my Discord server. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Take care.